I was reborn, alongside the husband who had once loved me to the extreme. In our previous life, he was a brilliant, extraordinarily gifted film director, and I was a top-tier actress at the height of my fame. As a power couple, we built a legacy of lifelong glory together. At the moment of his death, the last words he left the world were, "I was his muse for life." Back to the time before our careers even started. On the audition set for A New Spring, Benjamin's new film, all the actors were tense, except me. I lifted my chin and smiled with certainty. He would pick me. He was mine. Until Benjamin walked right past me without even a glance and pointed to another pretty face. That was when it suddenly hit me. Maybe he didn't want to live the same life again. Maybe he didn't want to fall in love with the same person. Chapter 1. It took me a moment to react before I realized I was standing on the audition set for A New Spring, and that I had been reborn. For a split second, I was confused. Why had I come back? To be perfectly honest, my past life, if I dare say, was nearly flawless. In my career, I was an award-winning actress, even taking home a Lifetime Achievement Oscar. In my personal life, although we chose not to have children, I had the world's most loving husband, Benjamin. We met through A New Spring, starting out as nobodies in the film industry and eventually rising to the very top together. Everyone said we were a match of geniuses, an eternal love legend in the entertainment world. The only regret was perhaps that we worked too hard when we were young. Benjamin passed away at 60. Before he died, he held my hand and said I was his muse for life. I sobbed uncontrollably and held his hand tighter. If there's a next life, I want to keep loving you. Benjamin smiled faintly and closed his eyes forever. A couple of years after he died, I passed away too. Grief took me down. When I opened my eyes again, I was back here. I was 19, a sophomore at the Film Academy, about to debut as the female lead in A New Spring, the very start of my starlet path. Although I still didn't understand why I'd been given a second life. Once I calmed down, I accepted it completely naturally. Such a beautiful life, why wouldn't I want to live it all over again? He's here. Director Wong is here. He's announcing the audition results. A few people shouted, and the noisy set instantly fell silent. I lifted my head and looked straight at the young man walking toward us. Chapter 2. He wore a simple black shirt, sleeves casually rolled up to his elbows, showing his toned forearms. There was a sharpness in his eyes, but also a trace of familiar gentleness. My heart skipped a beat. That was Benjamin, the younger Benjamin. A few girls nearby whispered excitedly, "He's so handsome." Director Wong, he could have relied on looks, but he chose to rely on talent in this industry. I couldn't help but let out a soft laugh. In just a few years, he would turn into a scruffy middle-aged man who didn't bother washing his face or brushing his hair, holed up in the editing room with a face full of stubble. But I had never loved Benjamin for his looks. This timeline should be right after Benjamin won his first award for new directors, though it wasn't a major award. To us film students, he was already way out of reach. Who do you think Director Wong will choose? Sigh. I was too nervous just now. Didn't do well. I'd be lucky to get a small supporting role. Everyone on set looked anxious, except me. I smiled with full confidence. The more they praised him, the more I felt proud. Because this outstanding man, from the very beginning, had eyes only for me. Luna. He loved me all his life, spoiled me all his life, and even on his deathbed, he confessed to me again. I looked up and locked my gaze onto Benjamin, and maybe it was just my imagination, but I thought he looked back at me too. I smiled at him, but in the next second, Benjamin calmly looked away. The lead actress for A New Spring has been decided. He picked up his notebook, voice low and composed. Misty. Every gaze turned toward a quiet girl in the corner. She looked up in shock, her cheeks flushed, eyes shy and startled, like a gentle, innocent fawn, and I froze. Why? Why didn't Benjamin choose me, like he did in the previous life? What had changed? Chapter 3. The lead role in A New Spring was supposed to be mine. It wasn't just my debut, it was the defining role of my entire career. A strange unease settled in my heart. Had my rebirth triggered some kind of butterfly effect? Did something go wrong? In my past life, Benjamin once told me that the moment he saw my audition, he knew no one else could play the role. Luna, you were born for film. even though you were only 19 during the auditions for A New Spring, and had never played a lead before. I knew instantly, your acting career would be limitless. Those words, which Benjamin later confessed to me in secret, had made me both shy and overjoyed. But now, why had he chosen someone else? I clenched my hands, fingertips trembling with unease. Without A New Spring, how would Benjamin and I even cross paths in this life? In the last life, it was during the filming of A New Spring that we got to know each other, that we began to feel something, however faint. But because of the 7-year age gap, we didn't jump into anything right away. What truly brought us together was the failure of A New Spring. That carefully crafted art film by Benjamin bombed at the box office when it was released. Audiences complained about the slow pacing, the confusing plot. Some even questioned Benjamin's directorial skills, saying he was just pretending to be deep, that he didn't really understand cinema. And yet, that box office flop A New Spring launched me to stardom. Because in that film, Benjamin had captured me in a way no one else ever had, so beautiful, so luminous. One of the most upvoted reviews said, "The female lead, as captured through the lens, is like the moon hanging high in the sky, fragile yet stubborn, lonely yet free." After that, I gained a huge following, fans of both my looks and my acting. Meanwhile, Benjamin took hit after hit in the media, getting viciously torn apart. Some even claimed his terrible movie had wasted my talent and beauty. I felt incredibly guilty, so I started messaging him on WeChat often, comforting him, encouraging him, reaffirming his talent. Our conversations grew more frequent, from movies to daily life, from daily life to dreams. We began meeting up more and more, just to get some fresh air. Then one starry night, he held my hand and said, "Luna, I don't want to wait anymore. If you feel the same." I stood on tiptoe and kissed him. "Let's be together." And from then on, we loved each other for a lifetime. Chapter 4. Why Misty? She doesn't even match the role's description. People around me were starting to murmur in unrest, just like I was. The female lead in A New Spring is a woman who experiences major ups and downs in life. The role spans from youthful innocence to mature resilience. She needs a face with depth and emotional weight. But Misty's features were on the baby-faced side. How could she possibly carry this role? Benjamin spoke again. "We've made some changes to the script. The focus is now on the female lead's time in school. All things considered, Misty was the best fit." His explanation was still calm and measured. I froze. The script had changed? Benjamin kept talking about the new version, and the more I listened, the more shocked I became. This wasn't A New Spring as I remembered it at all. The new script was more plot-driven, faster paced, basically. It had turned into a popcorn blockbuster. This wasn't Benjamin's style, not at all. The other actors, though clearly disappointed, could only nod and accept it. I packed up my things and dazedly followed the others toward the exit. Then I overheard a girl nearby gossiping. "I heard Benjamin and Misty are a thing. This whole audition was just for show. Total nepotism." I stopped in my tracks. Impossible. Benjamin wasn't that kind of person. I turned around and ran back, guided purely by instinct, until I was standing outside the break room. The door was slightly ajar. I heard Misty's voice. "Director Wong, I thought you wouldn't pick me," to avoid suspicion. Suddenly, I remembered who Misty was, one of Benjamin's former acting students. The Benjamin I remembered had always been composed and reserved. Even when the entire internet was dragging him, he never lost his temper, even on our wedding day. The only difference was that he smiled a little more warmly than usual. I had never seen him lose control. But now, I watched him reach out and pull Misty tightly into his arms. There was a possessiveness in him that felt completely foreign. "Silly girl, I rewrote the whole script just so I could cast you. Can't you tell?" Tears instantly welled up in Misty's eyes. "But last month, when I confessed to you, you said we shouldn't see each other anymore." "I was wrong." Benjamin looked down at her, his voice low but resolute. "Do whatever you want. I won't hide my feelings anymore. But you have to promise me, no matter what happens, you have to keep living." Misty looked up at him, stunned. For a long while, Benjamin smiled, leaned down, and kissed her gently on the cheek. On the way back to school, it started pouring. I didn't bring an umbrella. The rain soaked my hair, drenched my clothes. and chilled me to the bone, but the cold of my body was nothing compared to the numbness in my heart. That's when I finally understood. Benjamin had been reborn too. He must have come back even earlier than I did. That's why he rewrote the script. That's why he reshaped a new spring to fit Misty. I should have stormed in and questioned him. Why? Why would you do this? Why didn't you come find me? What about everything we had in the last life? But what right did I have? In the eyes of the world, Benjamin and Luna were nothing more than strangers. Yes, all that deep love and devotion, it was all in a past life. Now, in this life, Benjamin had simply chosen a different future, one without me. Chapter 5. While I was eating in the cafeteria, I came across a trending news article about the casting of a new spring. After Benjamin cast his former student Misty as the female lead in his new film, the internet exploded. People were eating up the drama, speculating wildly about the real relationship between the two. A flood of ship fans emerged. This is too thrilling. Older man ex-student. Teacher-student romance. Handsome guy. Pretty girl. Older man plus young woman. Classic rom-com pairing. I'm obsessed. I'm into this kind of forbidden, morally ambiguous tension where reason breaks down and no one stops themselves. I stared at those comments, and it felt like something was crushing my heart in its fist. Luna, what's wrong? You look awful, Abigail asked from across the table, clearly concerned. It's nothing, just a little tired. Abigail's eyes showed even more worry. She was my best friend in my past life. She'd made her name starring in idol dramas when she was young, then boldly transitioned behind the scenes in middle age to become a successful producer. She had always known exactly what she wanted. But me? After being reborn, I was growing more and more lost. Is it because of the audition? I mean, I know you've seen director Wong's past films and you really like him, but we're only sophomores. It's normal not to pass an audition. I kept my head down, poking at my rice with my chopsticks without answering. Abigail sighed. Don't be so upset. I've recently gotten a few offers for web dramas. Want to try auditioning with me? It's not the big screen, but it's still a chance. I'll think about it, I said softly, though my mind was a complete mess. My past life was like a film playing on loop in my head. Details I had once brushed aside now flashed in painful clarity. I remembered, my first real impression of Misty in the last life came shortly after Benjamin and I publicly announced our relationship. Backstage at a press conference, Misty cornered us. She's only 1 year older than me. Why can she and not me? Benjamin stayed silent for a long time. It's not about age. I'm your teacher. You're my student. There was a kind of weariness in his voice that I had never heard before. Misty's tears welled up instantly. She turned and ran off. Her back looked so thin, like a falling leaf. Later, Misty acted in many productions, but never rose to stardom. I heard she got involved with some company CEO, and then she was exposed as the other woman. When public outrage reached its peak, she took her own life. When the news of Misty's suicide broke, Benjamin locked himself in his study and stared blankly into space for a long time. I had just assumed he was mourning the loss of a student. After that, on the anniversary of Misty's death every year, Benjamin would visit her grave. I went with him for the first 2 or 3 years, until one time it overlapped with an overseas film festival. I hesitated and told him I wouldn't be able to make it. Benjamin said, "You're so cold." I was stunned. Misty and I weren't even close. Accompanying him for 2 years already seemed more than considerate. How could he say that to me for her? But then I told myself, he's an art house director after all, a bit more sensitive and emotionally complex. Maybe that was just his nature. Later, Benjamin apologized. We made up. He never asked me to go to the grave again, so I never gave Misty much thought after that. But now, I finally understood. There had always been a place for Misty in Benjamin's heart. This time, having been reborn, he came back with one goal, to make up for his regret. And this time, he would never let Misty go again. Buzz. Suddenly, my phone vibrated. A text from an unknown number. Miss Luna, we believe your audition performance was outstanding. Would you be interested in playing the second female lead in a new spring? The second lead? Chapter 6. Abigail leaned over to take a look, and her eyes immediately lit up. Luna, this is a great opportunity. Sure, you didn't get the lead role, But second female lead isn't bad at all, especially in a Benjamin film. I shook my head and tossed the phone aside. I'm not doing it. Why? Didn't you say before the audition that you loved Benjamin's films? I don't like them anymore. I let out a self-deprecating laugh. The new version of A New Spring was a patchwork mess. Benjamin had copied the plots of countless blockbuster films from the future of our past life. The Benjamin I once knew despised plagiarism more than anything. He used to say, if I ever run out of inspiration, I'd rather be mediocre than stoop to stealing. And now? To make A New Spring an instant hit, to guarantee Misty's rise to fame, he'd even sold off his own bones for it. All right. I respect your decision, but then what's your plan? Abigail asked curiously. I shook my head, scrolling aimlessly through my phone, when suddenly, I saw the latest post from the university's official account. The student union was recruiting actors for a public welfare short film. My eyes lit up instantly. Abigail, I want to try this. Huh? The audition was held in the school's small auditorium. Not many people showed up, just a handful of scattered students. After all, this kind of public project didn't have a famous director, nor did it offer any real media exposure. Most of the film's students were busy chasing industry connections, who would care about something like this. After the teacher announced the start of auditions, I stepped up onto the stage, took a deep breath, and closed my eyes. Memories from my past life surged in like a tidal wave. All those joys and sorrows in front of the camera, all the heartbreak and healing within those roles, they had long become part of my very blood. I opened my eyes and began the performance. The room gradually fell silent. Even after I finished, the judges stared, speechless. The other students looked at me in stunned silence. Just as I started to feel a bit nervous, one of the judges suddenly clapped, excitedly. Incredible! Absolutely incredible! Which class is she from? How is she this good? In that instant, thunderous applause filled the entire auditorium. Standing on stage, seeing the shocked expressions below, I suddenly realized something. That's right, I may be reliving this life, but my skills didn't reset. This is the acting ability of a future Triple Crown Best Actress. I, Luna, could never be buried in obscurity. As the applause roared around me, my heart burned with fire. So what if I don't have A New Spring? So what if I don't have Benjamin? I, Luna, will still walk my path of stardom in this life. Not only will I reclaim all the awards I won in the last life, I'll take on even more roles that truly mean something. Because that's not just an actor's duty, it's the conscience of an artist. Just like that line from my favorite film, The Curious Case of Benjamin Button. You've got to be proud of your own life. You've got to have the courage to start over. Chapter 7. I successfully joined the filming of the school's public service short film. Meanwhile, A New Spring also started shooting. The film frequently appeared at the top of trending searches, but rather than the movie itself, the media mostly focused on the gossip surrounding Benjamin and Misty. Ever since a reporter caught Misty moving into Benjamin's home, the two stopped hiding their relationship. They held hands in public, going in and out together every day. In the parking lot, Benjamin held a cigarette between his fingers while his other hand cupped the back of Misty's neck as he kissed her deeply and passionately. On a snack street, Benjamin gently wiped the corner of Misty's mouth with a napkin. Then, out of nowhere, he covered her entire face with it and playfully rubbed her cheeks. Misty pouted and lightly pounded his chest in mock anger, while Benjamin had the satisfied smirk of someone pulling off a mischievous prank. And at the film festival's backstage area, Benjamin, who had always disliked socializing, suddenly approached a male celebrity and asked for an autograph. When a reporter pressed him for a reason, he smiled and said, "A kid likes him." The comment sections under these news articles exploded again and again. He called her a kid? This guy really knows what he's doing. This is too sweet. Misty must have saved the galaxy in her past life to win over a guy like Director Wong. Misty deserves it. She's adorable, sweet, and a little ray of sunshine. Even as a guy, I'm falling for her. My fingers moved mechanically through the comments, each one stinging my eyes and making them burn. I had never seen this version of Benjamin before. So alive, so vivid, full of boyish charm. So this is what he's like when he meets his true love. 2 months later, A New Spring wrapped filming and moved into post-production. Those overwhelming gossip pieces finally died down. At the same time, our school's public service short film Moonlight was released. There was no hype, no trending hashtags, just a brief post on the school's official website and public WeChat account. On the poster, a girl stood alone in front of a gray, dreary school building, moonlight draped softly over her shoulders. Beneath it was a single line, dedicated to all the souls still struggling in the dark. Moonlight tells the story of a physically disabled girl from a poor family that favored boys over girls. She relied solely on her own strength to get into college and escape the mountains. A day passed. The view count hadn't reached 10,000, and there were only a few dozen comments and shares. But all of us felt calm. That's just the reality for a low-budget public welfare film. Some works aren't made for popularity, but to deliver a message. During filming, every one of us gave it our all, with full energy and passion, and that was enough. Until that night, when our small group chat suddenly exploded. Oh my god, our public service film is trending. Luna, go check it out! Tons of people are praising your performance. Surprised. I opened the trending topic, only to find that a well-known film critic had shared our short film, along with the caption, "Instead of some commercial flicks that live off constant gossip, this is what people should really be watching." Chapter 8. Overnight. Moonlight's popularity spread like wildfire. Netizens showered it with praise. I watched it and cried, this is what real cinematic art looks like. Every girl should see this. Education really is our best way out. Many people also started noticing me. The lead actress. She's only 19 and acting like this? That's pure talent, like the universe is feeding her success on a silver spoon. The female lead is gorgeous and her acting is phenomenal. I'm a fan now. The organic praise kept coming in. Highlight clips from Moonlight went viral across short video platforms. Within just a week, the view count broke 1 million. Even an official film channel reached out to invite us. When asked about my artistic aspirations by the host, I smiled and said, "At my age, it feels too early to talk about creative ideals. For now, I just want to share something good with the world. If the sun can't shine into every corner, I hope Moonlight still can." In that moment, the internet buzzed even more. Now this is what a real actor looks like, not chasing fame, but delivering meaning. So much better than those brainless actors who rely on gossip to stay relevant. Everyone take notes. This is what it means to speak with substance. I could tell many of these comments were deliberately comparing it with A New Spring, which remained constantly embroiled in gossip. Benjamin must have noticed too, but for some reason, he still gave our public service film a like and even shared it, adding, "A wonderful public service short film." The female lead's performance was excellent, truly excellent. Her future is limitless. I stared at that post, and my eyes suddenly welled up. All the memories I had worked so hard to forget came rushing back like a tide. 26-year-old Benjamin, crouching in a corner of the A New Spring set, warming 19-year-old Luna's frozen hands inside his coat. 27-year-old Benjamin, pinning Luna, who had come to visit the set, against the editing room door, his breath hot against her ear. "It's been 2 months since I saw you. I can't wait until filming wraps." 30-year-old Benjamin, standing at the end of a red carpet, gently wiping the corner of Luna's eye with his fingertip. "I will love you for a lifetime, whether in wealth or in poverty." A lifetime is supposed to be long, and yet he really did follow through on it. But why was his love limited to just that one lifetime? We had walked so many red carpets, under so many stars, through so many years. Our laughter, our tears, our shared resonance, our hopes for the world. To Benjamin, all of that had become nothing more than a film that had already finished screening. In this lifetime, does it all count for nothing? The memories surged like waves, then slowly began to recede. The cold wind cleared my head, dried the tears at the corners of my eyes. "Luna, this has to be the last time you cry for him." I wiped my tears away with force, opened the list of people who had followed the film's post, found the new follower, director Benjamin, and without hesitation, I blocked him. Chapter 9. The success of Moonlight was like a stepping stone. It knocked open the gates of the entertainment industry for me. At that time, I was only a sophomore in college, yet I was already getting role offers non-stop. Soon after, I officially started filming my first lead role movie, Little Tree, a humanistic film about a deaf-mute female painter. The director was also a newcomer. To save costs, the movie didn't feature any elaborate sets, nor did it have any fancy special effects. Most of it was shot in places like streets and parks. using real-life locations, but the script was incredibly sincere, carrying the director's pure, passionate heart, just like the old Benjamin once had. Meanwhile, A New Spring was finally completed and released. Unsurprisingly, it became a huge hit. The buzz dominated every corner of social media. After all, Benjamin had borrowed elements from countless blockbuster films. If A New Spring hadn't succeeded, I'd have started to wonder if his inspiration had stayed behind in his past life. After A New Spring premiered, reviews were polarized. Many critics mocked it. Shallow, overly commercial, no substance. Director Wong has bowed to the market. His style is nothing like his award-winning debut. Misty's face just doesn't suit the big screen, and her acting is mediocre. She should try TV dramas to improve first. But none of that changed the fact that the film blew up. Benjamin became more famous, and Misty did too. From that moment on, our paths completely diverged. I kept honing my acting skills and never joined variety shows for overexposure. When choosing a film, I never cared whether the co-star was famous, or whether the director or investors were big names. I only cared whether the script could move me. Not every film I took part in became a hit. Many had average box office results, but my reputation in the industry steadily improved. I gained a fiercely loyal fan base and even won my first Best Actress award earlier than I did in my past life. Benjamin, on the other hand, turned out completely different from the man he was before. Or rather, I could tell that even he was torn inside. After filming 2 hugely successful commercial movies, he suddenly announced he was making an art house film. But Misty didn't seem suited for the tone of an art house film at all. The media repeatedly captured them arguing on set. Once, Benjamin even threw the script at Misty's face and scolded her for being dense. Later, the lead role in that film was quietly replaced with an unknown new actress. And while it was said that Benjamin and Misty hadn't officially broken up yet, Misty stopped appearing in his films altogether. Without Benjamin's tailor-made roles, the 2 lead films Misty took on independently flopped. Slowly, the film industry began to give up on her, so she shifted her focus to idol dramas and began appearing on variety shows frequently. That way, she barely managed to maintain some level of buzz and popularity. We had each found our own path. I truly thought that in this lifetime, Benjamin and I would never cross paths again, until we ran into each other at a film awards ceremony. As luck would have it, our seats were right next to each other. Chapter 10. When I lifted my gown and found my seat, Benjamin was already there. He wore his usual, impeccably tailored black suit. He had a cigarette in hand, but the moment he saw me, his eyes widened, and he quickly put it out. "Lou." "Miss Lin." "Hello." I nodded slightly and sat down beside him, keeping a calm expression. Before the awards ceremony began, the lights dimmed. Clips from the nominated films started playing on the big screen, with applause and cheers echoing through the venue. "I watched your new film, Empress," he suddenly said, his voice soft like a feather. "You were excellent." "Thank you. Actually, not just the new one. I've seen all your films. You're truly the most naturally gifted actress I've ever come across. I've always hoped for a chance to work with you." I froze for a second and turned to look at Benjamin. His side profile, softened by the dim light, appeared unusually gentle. He smiled and added, "Just not sure if you'd be willing to work with me." "Director Wong, you flatter me. You're a very accomplished director as well. It's just that when it comes to choosing scripts, my preferences may not quite align with your style." I spoke calmly, though a hint of surprise crept into my chest. I had assumed that, like me, Benjamin had no desire for any further involvement in this lifetime. Then again, he probably didn't know I had been reborn. Maybe this was just polite small talk, nothing to read into. After being turned down, Benjamin's face blanked for a brief moment. He said nothing more. I thought our conversation would end there. Empress went on to sweep multiple awards, while Benjamin's film only received several nominations but no wins. After the ceremony, I finished my media interviews and was about to leave when he walked over to me. "Do you have a car coming? I can give you a ride." I paused briefly before replying, "Yes. My assistant is picking me up." He didn't say another word. It had started to rain heavily outside. My assistant's car was still on the way, and Benjamin didn't get into his own car. He simply stood there with me on the side of the road, waiting. In the quiet rain, he suddenly spoke. Miss Lin, did you know? I once had a dream about a past life. I stayed silent, my fingers tightening around the fabric of my dress. He went on, in that past life, I cast you as the lead in A New Spring. The film flopped at the box office, but we really connected. We slowly got together. I'm sorry. Director Wang, my ride is here. I smiled and pointed to the white car approaching in the distance. Cutting him off mid-sentence, Benjamin looked at me, dazed. I waved at him and said, I don't believe in past lives or this life that life talk. Living this one life well is enough. If you're dreaming a lot, maybe go see a doctor, could be stress. Oh, and I'm still waiting for the wedding candy from you and Miss Misty. You've been in a long-term relationship for so many years, don't let her down. Benjamin opened his mouth slightly, but in the end, said nothing. The moment I shut the car door, I finally exhaled. My assistant asked curiously, Sis, what was Director Benjamin saying to you? Did he invite you to act in a film? Nothing much, just small talk. The car slowly merged into the curtain of rain. The streetlights outside blurred into hazy smudges of light through the downpour. A faint unease settled in my chest. What did Benjamin mean by telling me all that? Chapter 11. My unease wasn't baseless. After that day, Benjamin somehow got hold of my WeChat number. When I saw his friend request, I hesitated for a long time. In the end, I clicked accept. That very night, his messages started flooding in one after another. Miss Lin, do you have time lately? Can I treat you to dinner? I turned him down. Do you have any upcoming events? If you're free, maybe we could go hiking or something? I told him I was preparing physically for my next film and wouldn't be going out. What kind of movies do you like? Any favorite actors? He even started listing films and actors I used to love in my previous life. After living 2 lifetimes, I wasn't so dense as to miss what he was implying. He was showing interest in me. He wanted to pursue me. But that only left me more confused. What had happened between him and Misty? Benjamin started messaging me on WeChat more and more frequently. His texts piled up like a mountain. In this industry where people run into each other constantly, I couldn't bring myself to block him. After a long time thinking it over, I finally decided to meet him and get everything out in the open. Let's have dinner tomorrow. There's something I do want to talk to you about. He replied instantly, sure, so quickly. It was as if he feared I'd change my mind. When I arrived at the restaurant the next day, Benjamin was already waiting in the private room. He was dressed in an especially formal suit, and there was a bouquet of red roses on the table. When he saw me, he smiled, his eyes filled with expectation. Luna. I greeted him politely, Director Wang. He laughed awkwardly and pointed at the menu. I already ordered. See if it's to your liking. Of course. It was all based on the preferences I had in my past life. He remembered them well. I nodded and took a seat across from him. You finally agreed to have dinner with me. I'm so glad, Benjamin said with an overjoyed smile. His face tinged with shyness. He poured me a glass of water. We're adults. There's no need to beat around the bush too much. Actually, you like me? You want to pursue me? His face instantly flushed red. I smiled faintly and took a sip of tea. Then tell me, since you were reborn, why didn't you go after me from the start? Why did you choose Misty first? Benjamin's face turned ashen in a flash. His lips trembled. Luna, I was reborn too, I said calmly. Chapter 12. The air fell silent. We stared at each other wordlessly for a long time. Finally, he spoke, his voice hoarse. When did it happen for you? Right before the audition for A New Spring. The A New Spring audition. That was 6 years ago, Benjamin muttered, his eyes suddenly filling with disbelief. Then why didn't you come find me? Why didn't you question me during A New Spring? That female lead role, it was a character you truly loved. I let out a soft laugh, a trace of self-mockery in my voice. The moment you chose Misty as the new lead, was there any point in asking questions? Benjamin, I have my own pride and dignity too. Benjamin fell silent again. After a long time, he said quietly, I'm sorry. I closed my eyes briefly, pushing down the surge of emotion in my chest. Was what you felt for me in the last life fake? How could it be? How could it possibly be fake? Benjamin grew agitated. running his hands through his hair, his voice rising into a desperate shout. Luna, I loved you my whole life. But Misty's death, it was something I could never get past. I kept thinking, if I had accepted her back then, if I had just been with her, would things have turned out differently? It wouldn't even have needed to be for long, maybe just 2 or 3 months. I'll admit it, I did have a bit of a soft spot for her back then, but it wasn't love. It never compared to what I felt for you after she died. Though, that feeling twisted into an obsession, even though I spent a perfect lifetime with you. That obsession with Misty never went away. So you were reborn and chose her, not me. I cut him off, my tone calm but ice cold. You wanted to try a different life. Benjamin. No. Benjamin shook his head. I only meant to be with her for a few months. Really. But once we were together, I realized our values and interests just didn't align. I tried to break up with her several times. But Misty's so fragile. I was afraid she'd do something reckless. Until half a year ago, after another huge fight, I finally couldn't take it anymore. I couldn't destroy my own life just to preserve hers. I already gave her a platform, helped her rise. It was more than enough. I wasn't willing to sacrifice my love for her anymore. Luna, I love you. It's always been you. Only you. I looked at Benjamin, whose eyes were rimmed red, but inside, I felt absolutely nothing. Benjamin, stop lying to even yourself, I said softly, with a tinge of pity. You had your taste of the red rose. So this time around, you wanted to try the white one. But when you found the white rose wasn't what you imagined, you came back chasing after the red. But why should I wait for you? Benjamin froze, shock and pain written all over his face. I picked up my purse and stood, my voice steady and unwavering. Benjamin, love isn't some kind of experiment. You can't just try sweet, then decide to sample sour, bitter, and spicy, only to come crawling back to sweet again. I'm not some accessory to your perfect life. I won't stay here waiting for you forever. I have my own life, my own path, and you made your choice a long time ago. Goodbye. No, let's not meet again. The Luna and Benjamin of this life, there was no intersection in the past. And there won't be one in the future either. I turned and walked away. As I pushed open the private room door, a cold wind rushed in, scattering the rose petals on the table. Just like those sealed away memories, they, too, would eventually drift and vanish with time.